Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm your host, Megro31. Hopefully, you enjoyed your All-Star break. All-Star game was actually a decent game to watch. DFS, um, it was, I don't know. I mean, they're always hard, and we appreciate over the 1,000 people that watched our show, and hopefully, we helped you out a little bit. But honestly, like the first Diaz, okay. He's having a decent season, playing for a really good team. His baby was going to be born the next day. So, I mean, he had a lot going on there. So I get that one. But Diaz from the Colorado Rockies as a catcher, the third catcher on the team. I mean, you got like Will Smith as like the second catcher. Guy potentially could not play if they're saving him for like an emergency situation. Although, like at the end of the game, they're doing like home run derby and not going to extra innings. So, I mean, that makes it a little bit different. But for the people that had him in the lineup, like I highly doubt anybody landed on him or thought like, wow, this is a great play. Especially the people that had him as captain. I mean, that had to be an optimizer pick. And then pitching wise, the strategy to pick all pitchers did well. Although on Twitter earlier in the day, Dusty Baker says that, you know what? I think it was Kimbrel, the Boston guy, is going to be my closer. So if it gets in that situation, close game, I'm like, perfect. I'll put him as captain in one lineup. And it's a tight game, and he comes out there and they bring him out in the like eighth inning, and I think he like pitches for like one batter. And I'm like, perfect. He's gonna come out and do the whole ninth, and maybe the AL can take the lead and he'll get the win. I have this made. Ninth inning comes around, they throw out Pablo Lopez, a starter. And then Luis Castillo, who is the hometown guy who's having an amazing season, doesn't get in, but then they put Kirby in. Like, I don't get it, but it's fun. It's frustrating. That's why we love it. But we're back on Friday. Got a 14-game slate, but we have a headache because we have so much rain in the Midwest and the East Coast. It's going to be a nightmare all weekend long. If you watch my NASCAR videos, that's going to be a nightmare too, because I don't know if they're going to practice and qualifying in New Hampshire today for Xfinity. They might get the race in. They should move the cup race to tomorrow because Sunday looks abysmal with weather, and even into Monday morning. So I don't know what NASCAR is going to do. It's not a great situation. I feel for all you people in New England. Thoughts and prayers to you, because like just the heavy rain that you've had. We had it in my area in 2011, and our river flooded, and it was just a mess. And it was just a mental strain of everything, having mud and dirt and roads closed, and places turned into islands. You couldn't like get any direction for days. It was just a horrible experience. So I understand it, and hopefully you're making that well. So let's get back to baseball here. So 14-game slate, a lot to talk about, but a lot of weather games. So I'm just going to kind of blow through the slate, and in the build, I'm gonna talk about good situations if the weather is okay, but for the builds, I'm gonna build without many weather issues. So we'll start with the Marlins going to the Baltimore Orioles. Alcantara and Dean Kramer. Alcantara is having a horrible season, but he's 6'8". He's got a lot more potential than that, so I'm throwing him in the GPP pool there if the weather's okay here. This one might not be bad because it looks like by like 8 o'clock the rain's down to like 30% and tapering off, so they might be able to get this one with a late start. But Baltimore's definitely had a really good offense. So it's dangerous, but at 6'8", if you're taking a shot in 20 max or large player pool, I think he's fine. Kramer on the other side, I definitely am interested in. He's had a really good season. Baltimore's got a lot of decent young pitchers here, and Miami, I mean, Jazz is still on the IL. They have put up some runs recently. It's a park upgrade for them because their park is definitely a pitcher's park and not a hitter's park. But again, I don't really fear them that much. So I think Kramer's definitely in play here again if the weather's okay. So Miami bats would probably be in 150 max only, and Baltimore would be in a 20 max GPP. So next up, we have San Francisco and Pittsburgh, Ross Stripling and Rich Hill. Stripling's bad. No, Hill is old. And San Francisco just the way they can mix and match batters against him. I don't like the matchups. So, I mean, the weather's actually decent here. It's a pitcher's park, so it goes for him, but it's 84 degrees. The wind's blown out slightly, so that helps with hitters a little bit. So, I mean, I have him in the no interest category, but with all the weather and stuff, he might make his way over into the GPP category. San Francisco bats, I think I like them in the cheap, but I like probably about 3 teams ahead of them. 2 teams if the weather's bad in Chicago. But again, you have like such a pinch hit risk that you have to hope that these righties like Slater leading off and Flores, Davis probably stay in both games, but he's actually better against righties and lefties. He's kind of a reverse splits hitter. So you just have to, if you play them, you just have to hope they do enough damage before they get pinch hit for. Pittsburgh again is a decent cheap stack. I don't think you really need them today. Like if you skip over Reynolds, like Swinsky, Davis, Santana, Choi should be back in the lineup. He's 2.4. Oh, sorry. Before I go any further, one thing that I do want to alert you to, if you haven't checked, is DK achievements. If you play for those, they have a home run one. So it took me about half an hour to build a lineup to get every player in to get exposure. I played in the dime and it took 33 lineups. So it's like $3.30 I'm investing in this. I'm going to see how fast it takes me to get all 30 teams with 30 home runs. So it gets easier and easier every single day as you can cross teams off the list. But I usually like doing it. It's 250 or 2,500 crowns for it. So, and they add up. So plus it also helps with your other achievements because most of these lineups I've built, I have like the best pitchers on the slate. So I should get strikeouts there. So it helps that achievement raise me up a couple levels and the home run one overall. Up a couple levels. So, if you're looking for something fun to do, then, that's always, I love doing that home run hunt here. NBA does it usually for like 30-point games. Hockey usually does it for goal scorers. I think soccer does it also. So thank you for DK for putting those fun achievement games out there. And like I said, it's very easy to stack. Just take like 5 guys. Try not to use the guys with multiple position eligibility. I just did game stacks. So I'd go 5 and 3 and then 5 and 3. And you're going to have 2 players left over. I just threw them in a giant pool. And then when it's all said and done, I just build lineups out of that final pool. So 33 lineups, $3.30. Let's go. I'm not even worried about the weather. I'm just trying to get exposure to every single batter that should be in the starting lineup. And I'll let you know when I achieve it. But anyways, back to San Francisco and Pittsburgh. Like I said, San Francisco bats, you're going to have to get the right ones early and hope they score early and before they're pulled. And Pittsburgh, I think definitely there's some cheap ones if you skip over Reynolds. Next up, we have a really nice game here with Arizona Diamondbacks and Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, I don't think it's a potential World Series matchup, but I mean, it wouldn't be a bad one to watch. Arizona and Toronto both have definitely great offenses. Ryan Nelson, not interested. Chris Bassett, his home splits have been much better than his away splits, but Arizona is just really good against everybody. So, especially with like the left-handed power Bassett, they can throw out at you. So I'm not interested in Bassett here more than a GPP, and Nelson is definitely on my fade list. So Arizona, I think would be my 3rd favorite stack, and just because Bassett's a better pitcher than Nelson. But I think if you want to go a game stack here, then it definitely is in play. Just so many good bats to pick from. The other thing that I'm just going to mention is I am hesitant to play players that participate in the home run derby, especially Vlad, who went so far. It seems to mess up your swing. And Vlad is a line drive hitter. And he had to change his swing to get the ball up a little bit more for the home run derby. So I don't know if the mechanics of that and the timing of that is going to throw him off. We've seen it happen before. We saw Josh Hamilton come out and he was on a tear, went to the home run derby, and then he couldn't hit a home run to save his life for like the next month afterwards. And so it sometimes happens to guys. It is a real thing. So just kind of, look back and see who was in the home run derby and especially guys that went deeper, and it potentially could throw off their swing for a couple of days. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're a complete fade, but just keep that in mind. So like the bats on both sides here, don't really like the pitchers. Next up, we have Milwaukee and Cincinnati. Corbin Burns. I got a new nickname for him. Corbin Burns and Graham Abscraft. Burns has been pitching better last couple of starts here. Started off kind of rocky. I can't remember if he was injured or so, but maybe it's getting used to the pitch clock. I mean, a lot of different factors with the game this year. So he's been okay, but he goes into a ballpark against a really hot offense that's brought up a lot of good young guys. There's over a 10 total in this one. So I think Burns isn't playing the medium range here, especially with like the discount. Like he's been a 10K pitcher in the past. He's only 8-4. So definitely in consideration for him. Ashcraft on the other side, not interested in. Milwaukee is my favorite cheap stack on the slate here against Ashcraft in the hitting environment. They have a 5.18 total. Just pretty much anybody. Ashcraft just gives up a lot of contact, not necessarily hard contact, but a lot of hits here. So both sides of the plate, definitely like the Milwaukee Brewers here. Cincinnati, the other side, they're getting priced up like the Braves. It is almost hard to stack the whole team. There are some cheap pieces left here, especially if you do a wraparound with Benson on the bottom against Burns. I think they're more of like a leverage play or like a GPP play for you. But I think they're definitely in play here for this evening. Los Angeles Dodgers and New York Mets. Looks like the weather. This game has a high potential to be rained out. It's like 60 to 70% chance of rain to like 9 o'clock, and then it doesn't drop below 50%. So keep your eye on that. It is a pitching upgrade in this ballpark for the pitchers, but the wind is blowing out 9 miles per hour, and it should be 81 degrees, so it'll probably be muggy. Urias, coming back from injury, he was dominant early in the season before. The Mets are a decent matchup for him because they can be like hot and cold, but I think I'd rather take a lower tier team than them. So I'm not going to touch Urias in this weather. If GPP potentially, Verlander, the same thing. But again, I think just with the wind blowing out a little bit here, the almost 10 miles per hour, the temperatures, the rain, I just don't like either one of the pitchers here. If you're multi-entering and you think the game's going to play, then that's fine. But other than that, not interested. Bat-wise, the same thing. I think they're in 20 entry max GPP pools. You're fine with them here on a large slate. And they're definitely, both teams are workable. The Dodgers, got the expensive bats up top, but some of the guys towards the bottom of the order definitely are cheaper to make it work, especially to do a wraparound. And then there's a lot of right-handed power bats here, and fans had a good season. Alonso's great against lefties, Lindor, Alvarez. So, a little four to, I don't know if I go full stack, but 4-man Met stack looks decent here too, again, if the weather's going to hold up. Next, we have the Chicago White Sox and Atlanta Braves down in Hotlanta. 88 degrees, wind blowing off 5 miles per hour, 20 to 30% chance of rain here. So this one should be fine. Hopefully, Kobach coming back off the IL against a really good offense, not interested. Morton against a banged up team here. We don't know. Roberts hurt himself in the home run derby with a swing, had tightness in his legs or something. So I don't know if he'll be in the lineup or not, or if he's going to need additional rest. He said he should be okay, but we'll have to see on that. So I think Morton definitely is a great matchup here. I know he's got the blue because of the rain, but I think he's safer than most of the pitchers that are colored in blue today. So definitely consider him. White Sox would be probably just leverage stack against Morton. I think we'll pick up some ownership. And then the Braves are top stack on the slate, but very, very hard to fit in unless you're going really cheap pitching here. But definitely if you can make it work, then they're definitely worth playing. Next up, we have the Cleveland Guardians and the Texas Rangers. Here, Savali and John Gray. Not interested in either one of these pitchers. Maybe Gray a little bit in the medium range because Cleveland has no power and just has fallen off a cliff since last year. So not looking forward to playing them at all. The bat wise for Cleveland 150 max. Texas, I think, are the top GPP stack here. I take Boston over them if the weather holds, but I think Texas Saval's not been a good pitcher. Texas has been hot. They have 4.67 total. The weather's going to be perfectly fine here, so definitely like some Texas. Speaking of Boston, they go to Wrigley Field. There is a 60% chance of rain during the whole game, so I don't know if this one's going to get in. If it does, it's a great hitting environment because 10 mile per hour wind blowing out in Wrigley Field is great for hitting. Bello and Hendricks, Bello, I don't know. He's having a really good season, so I threw him in the medium range here. If you want to take a chance, if the wind looks like it's going to die down, the rain's going to die down, it's going to play against this Cub team. I think it works. Kyle Hendricks, I have absolutely no interest in. Boston, I love this stack, especially lefties against Hendricks. Duran, Yoshida, Devers, Verdugo, even throw Casas in there, or Turner, however you want to do it. Stack 1 through 6 here. If this game's going to play, fill in whoever else you want to, and hopefully you're off to the races with a nice power show here with the wind blowing out. Cubs on the other side against Bello. I like them a little bit in the cheap range here. Probably the most expensive bat's going to be Homer at 4.7, or like Bellinger at 4.6 if he doesn't get like traded. There's so many rumors about him moving on. Now that he's kind of found his form and gotten back, but like Talkman leading off at 2.9 is like an awesome price with a good matchup there with the win. So some cheap pieces to consider there. Tampa Bay, Kansas City Royals, Glasnow and Marsh. Glasnow should be the highest owned pitcher on the slate in this matchup here, but the weather looks really bad in Kansas City. It's like almost a 70% chance of rain. I don't know if they're going to get this one in even with a late start. And so we got to watch the weather on that, and wind's blowing in 10 miles per hour. That kind of downgrades hitters just a little bit, but so definitely going to help the pitchers. I'm not going to play Marsh on the other side. He's a young pitcher, but he's not ready for Major League Baseball yet, especially against his Tampa Bay team. So Diaz will not be in the lineup for Tampa Bay. He's out on paternity leave. Had a baby. Congratulations to him. They will probably bring up Aranda, play first or third base. He'll hit towards the bottom of the order, but he's going to be 2K minimum price. So somebody can throw in a wraparound stack if you do want to play Tampa Bay, because the upper guys are kind of expensive, especially if you want to play Glasnow as a pitcher. You might as well, because if the weather's going to be okay here and they're going to be able to hit and play the game, then you might as well just do the correlation and play Glasnow. You risky pitcher with the risky hitting stack. It just makes sense. Kansas City on their side, not interested in, just maybe a leverage against Glasnow, but I don't think there's really much to look at here, especially on a 14-game slate, unless you're playing 150 lineups. Washington and St. Louis, about a 40 to 50% chance of rain here. I don't like the fact that the chance of rain goes up during the course of the game. No total. Mackenzie Gore, Michael Mikolas, Gore, I think maybe in the cheap range, because St. Louis has been bad and there's some strikeouts in this lineup, but they're going to throw an all right-handed lineup besides Newbar probably at them. And then Mikolas on the other side, he had some bright spots early in the season, was kind of faded. Washington, again, the death by 100 cut or 1,000 cuts offense here. Not going to hit probably home runs against him, but even though the wind is blowing out, it's 84 degrees, so that does kind of help a little bit in St. Louis also, if the weather holds up. But I think Washington as a 150 max team, and St. Louis would just be in a 20 max team. But again, don't really like the weather here. I do like all the righties against St. Louis. Maybe they'll turn the corner for the second half like the Phillies did last year and make a run. We'll have to see. But I don't know if this is the game I want to try to find out. Coors Field, we have the Yankees going and playing against the Rockies. Carlos Rodon, second start here. It did look good in his first one, went a little bit deeper than I thought he would, but I'm not sure. Even in Coors here, there's a little bit of rain, potentially 30%. I think they'll play through it. I think it'll just be wet, but let's see what Kevin Rother, like other people, say about this game here. If there's going to be storms that pop up during the course of the game and he might get not get to pitch very deep, then definitely not. But I think he didn't play for a GPP, but I think I really want to see a couple more. Maybe his third start. I think I'd definitely be on him depending on the matchup. Gomber on the other side is an absolute no, probably the worst pitcher in the worst situation on the slate. So Yankees definitely going to be one of the top stacks here. They're cheap. They've got a 7.13 total, but again, sometimes the team's first game in Coors isn't as good. We've seen the Yankees struggle potentially and the rain, so I'm bumping them down to fourth here. I like Atlanta, Toronto, and Arizona over them, but they'll definitely be in play, and I definitely will be playing Yankee stack. And Colorado on the other side, I mean, they're relatively cheap. Also here, you want the right-handed bats, like Brian at 4 or 6 in Coors isn't bad. Diaz, if you think that this is the place to play Diaz, the MVP of the All-Star game. Cron is really cheap. He's been bumped down to the 5th spot at 3.9. So Grichuk has hit righties. He's 3.5. So definitely make a Colorado stack. Even Tovar, he's ever since Brian's come back, he's been bumped down in the lineup. but still he did really well in the 2 hole when he was up there. So definitely one to consider. Doyle is a young player. So lots of potentially decent bats here for Colorado and a GPP also. Next up, we have Houston. At the Angels, we have JP France and Shohei Ohtani. Blister should be fine. He should be good. No pitch limitations or anything. So hopefully he's okay. FanDuel only has him as a hitter for some reason. So it's kind of weird. You can't play him as pitcher there. It might change, check their messages, but they had a message that he's only on offense earlier today when I built my lines at like 5 a.m. So just check and see if it changes, but I don't think he'll be able to pitch him there. And JP France on the other side is I don't know. He should be in play here in the medium range because like there's no Trout. There's like this lineup's banged up. There's still some potential here, but and they really need to put it together if they want to have any hopes of keeping Ohtani. We'll just have to see what happens with him. Like he says he wants to move on and that he doesn't think that he can win there and wants to play for a winner. So are the Angels just going to trade him away before they lose him and get nothing for him and get a bunch for him, like the Herschel Walker trade? If you're old enough to remember that, when Dallas traded Herschel Walker to Minnesota and got enough draft picks to rebuild their dynasty because he was the best player and Minnesota really wanted him, overpaid for him. And then in 1995, he's back on the team as a kick returner and ends up winning the Super Bowl with them anyways. One of the most cool and ironic stories in sports history. So the Astros doing better. I think they'll leverage that against Ohtani here. The weather's good here. I mean, this is probably a decent GPP stack here just to throw against Ohtani, especially if the fingers are not good and they have to use a lot of the bullpen. And then Angels against France. Again, not super interested. Maybe in a 20 max here, maybe more in the 150 max. Like you can't play Ohtani as a hitter. Like besides Moniak, there's really not a lot of guys I'm excited with in this lineup against France. So definitely something to consider there. Minnesota Twins and Athletics, Maeda and Blackburn. Maeda has done really well in matchups against bad teams, and they've lost Ruiz to an injury here, so they're like table setter. He played more against lefties, but still, the threat to like steal bases and stuff there was there. This A's lineup has gotten better against right-handed pitchers, especially like all the lefties they can throw up at the top. But I still think that my idea should come out and dominate him. And I absolutely love the price. He opens up so much for you. SP2 on FanDuel and even on DK and even on FanDuel as an SP1 and GPP just like gets you like so much. And we'll go over that in builds. Blackburn on the other side, don't mind him either. I mean, he's had some ups and downs this season, but the Twins definitely can strike out a lot. Twins make a really nice cheap stack also, like especially if you get rid of Bucks and Correa, like Julian Krylov and Salerno, Kepler, like they're all guys like in the 2K range that you can throw in if you're playing like a Brave stack and get some decent pitching, and that works for you. And the Ace on the other side would definitely be in the leverage stack because I think May is going to have high ownership. Final game, Detroit and Seattle. Eduardo Rodriguez is overpriced. He's the highest priced pitcher on FanDuel. I think he's like third on DK. I know Seattle has struggled. I know the strikeouts in this lineup. I have him as fifth, and the weather's actually decent here. So he's playable, yes, but the price is just egregious. I just think it's more of a GPP play just based on pricing, but potentially with the weather and stuff, could he break the slate? Yes. Has Seattle definitely struggled? Are they coming, off like kind of the high end of distraction of the All-Star game? Yes. But no, I don't think he's in play, but I'll play one sheriff. Just because I'm just so intrigued to see what happens here. But Castillo on the other side by far is my SP1 at 8-9 against a Detroit team on the road. I know they have a bunch of lefties there. So Detroit is definitely, if you play Erod, play a Detroit stack. And as leverage here against a good pitcher, like you might as well go all in on Detroit. Just throw in the lefties, it's a late night hammer here. So go Erod, play some of the left-handed Detroit bats. You'll probably have enough salary. Well, I mean, Erod's kind of high up there. So throw out like Blackburn in there as your SP2, and then like go get all the Atlanta, Toronto, Coors Arizona bats you want for the rest of it, and just like sit back and watch it burn, hopefully. Hopefully. But that should be a fun lineup. I gotta build that looks just like so fun. But on the other side, Seattle, I think just GPP here. I like the righties. Like, it's a good matchup for Rodriguez, France, Hernandez, Suarez, Murphy. So just kind of the middle of that lineup there has the right-handed power. Although McKinley did tell me like that Seattle has produced the fourth least amount of home runs this season, and we don't know if that's the team or the environment. So not really a power park there, but potentially we'll have to see what happens. So let's get to the build to get you on the way for your weekend. So I'm taking Castillo, as said, against Detroit as my SP1. Probably Maeda as my SP2 here. Maybe Blackburn, Kremer if the weather's decent, I'm interested in, but I think I'm around that. Like I said, France is a little bit more risky against the Angels. But give me Milwaukee, and I'm probably going to take 5 Milwaukee, and then I'm going to sprinkle in Toronto. I'll let you decide if you want to play the ladder or not after the home run derby. You can always take a Belt there, but I think it's a lefty on lefty, so that's probably not the most. Nope. Nelson's a righty, so you can take a Belt there. Second base, we'll figure out who you want. I want Chapman, Bichette, Winker. It's a revenge game. He's going back to Cincinnati, where he had a phenomenal career. Should be hitting up in the lineup. And then Springer, I'll let you choose who you're out. If you want to take Yelich or a cheaper outfielder there, maybe pay up for. But I'm going probably 5 Milwaukee, 3 Blue Jays, and then I told you who my SP2 choices are. For FanDuel, Castillo again, Contreras, Winker, probably Yelich, Chapman, Bichette, Springer. And you could do some unique things here, because you can fill in with Toronto and Vlad and maybe an expensive one-off, or Arizona fits in here too. You can take Springer, you can take Carroll, and then take another cheap Milwaukee bat to finish it off, and it works. You just skip over Yelich and Vlad. So that's another way that I could potentially go there also. Or Braves work also. You could probably throw ALBs in there and Acuna, and then take another cheap Milwaukee guy or somebody to finish off the lineup, and that works also. GPP, give me Ohtani, Glasnow if the weather's decent. Throw him there. If you want a little bit more money with a little bit less upside, Morton, but it can help with your bats. But I'm going to take some of these right-handed. I'm going to take Murphy there, and I'm going to stack the Yankees. So Torres, Volpe, Bader, Stanton. I'll let you pick who you're. If you want to punt catcher and go with Trevino or whoever pitch or catches there for the Yankees, do a wraparound, and that's fine. It's about the same price as Murphy, and then whoever you want for your GPP stack to throw in there. If you want to pay up in pitcher, then throw in the Minnesota stack, and then you'll definitely be able to, like, you go punt catcher, take Minnesota at first base and outfield, and throw Donaldson in there, and then you can pay up for another SP2 and be a little bit different. So many different ways to go. On FanDuel, if you take Maeda as your SP1, you can get 3 Atlanta Braves in and 4 Yankees. So that's the Yankee score: Torres, Volpe, Bader, Stanton. Give me Olsen there, first base. You can go Acuna, Riley. If you want Albies, put him in utility. Take a cheap third baseman as a one-off. So many different ways that you can go there. So great slate, lots of different options. Hopefully you've written down some notes and that you can go. It sucks that the weather is going to be like this. You just have to keep an eye on it. Try to throw some notes out maybe around 6:30 tonight on any games that are canceled or games that I'm definitely going to consider playing now or not playing. So come back, check at 6:30. I'll try to throw some weather notes out there for you. So if you have any other questions, put me comments below, or hit me up at Megro31 on Twitter. If these videos are helpful to you, continue to, again, thank you so much for the over, I think it's like 1,200 people watched the All-Star game video. So thank you so much, McKinley. I really appreciate that. So, and thank you for just watching this video and all the support you've given us. And if we're helping you, you're helping us by watching it, but just continue to help us by liking the video so it gets out to some more people on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel so you know when our videos are coming out, and share with your friends. So if you want more information on FSi DFS and want to get our full package, it's really cheap. Just go into the description of the video. You can go there and sign up for go to our website, sign up for your subscription, and get in. Reminder, NASCAR this weekend. It's probably going to be an absolute mess with the rain, but we'll do the best we can to try to pick out the plays there. And just overall, hope you have a good weekend in July. I know a lot of people on vacation, a lot of family reunions, a lot of things going on. So hopefully you get some time to enjoy some baseball, enjoy some DFS. So good luck in your contest. Have a great weekend. I will probably see you on Monday. And until then, take care.